The rain fell hard that evening, washing the city streets in silver reflections. Inside a small café tucked between tall, indifferent buildings, a young woman sat nervously at the corner table, glancing at the door every few seconds. Her name was Lillian Carter, a 29-year-old single mother who had learned that life doesn't hand out kindness easily. Her once glowing eyes were now tired, not from lack of hope, but from fighting too long just to keep her world from falling apart. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the small collar of her second-hand blouse. Across from her sat a small boy with messy dark hair and the biggest brown eyes you could ever see. Eli, her 6-year-old son. He was drawing something on a napkin with a dull pencil, completely unaware of his mother's racing heart. Tonight wasn't just any night. It was her first attempt at something she hadn't dared to try in years. A blind date. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of good hearts finding each other again, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support keeps these heartfelt stories alive. Lillian had sworn off dating long ago after Eli's father walked away when she was 7 months pregnant. He didn't even stay long enough to hold his son once. Since then, she had built walls around her heart, not out of bitterness, but survival. Every day was a battle, working double shifts at a diner, rushing to pick Eli from school, skipping meals so her son wouldn't have to. She had long forgotten what it felt like to dress up or laugh freely, but her coworker, a cheerful woman named Jenna, convinced her to try a dating app, saying, "You deserve happiness too, Lil. You're more than your struggles." After days of hesitation, Lillian finally agreed. She matched with a man named Ethan Brooks, who seemed kind and down to earth. His profile was simple, no flashy poses, just a quiet smile, and a line that read, "Looking for someone real." It sounded safe, genuine, so she agreed to meet him for coffee. But that afternoon, disaster struck. Her babysitter canceled last minute. For a few agonizing minutes, Lillian considered calling off the date, but something inside her whispered not to. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe, deep down, she still believed that life could surprise her. So she packed Eli's crayons, held his tiny hand, and decided to go. Now, sitting there, she felt the familiar sting of shame creeping in. People were already glancing at her, some with sympathy, others with judgment. Her date was running late, and the little voice inside her started whispering doubts. He won't understand. He'll walk away too. Then, the cafe door opened. A tall man in a dark gray coat walked in, shaking off the rain. His eyes searched the room until they landed on her, and a soft smile appeared on his face. That was him, Ethan Brooks. He looked nothing like she expected. He was handsome, yes, but there was something deeper in his gaze, something calm and steady. Lillian stood up awkwardly, stammering an apology before he even reached the table. I'm so sorry. My babysitter canceled and I didn't want to cancel on you, so I brought my son. I completely understand if this isn't what you wanted." Her words spilled out like a confession she'd been dreading. But Ethan just looked at her, then at the little boy who was watching curiously, and instead of frowning or stepping back, he smiled. "That's perfectly fine," he said softly, taking off his coat. "Hi, buddy. I'm Ethan. Is that a spaceship you're drawing?" Lillian froze, momentarily caught off guard. Most men she'd met in the past couldn't even hide their discomfort around kids, but Ethan kneeled down to Eli's level, listening intently as the boy explained his drawing. Within minutes, Eli was giggling, showing off his crayon-stained fingers, and Ethan was asking questions like he genuinely cared. As they sat down, Lillian couldn't help but study him. He wasn't wearing a suit, just a simple sweater and jeans. Yet, there was something about his composure, his quiet confidence, that felt different. He asked about her job, her son's favorite things, and when she tried to steer the topic away from her struggles, he gently brought it back, not to pry, but to understand. For the first time in years, Lillian felt seen, not as a burden, not as a tired mother, but as a woman who had survived. She found herself laughing, even smiling, as Eli babbled about superheroes. Hours passed like minutes. When the cafe began closing, Ethan offered to walk them home. On the way, Eli slipped his hand into Ethan's, completely at ease. Lillian watched in silence, feeling her heart twist in both fear and hope. She wasn't used to kindness that asked for nothing in return. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a quiet, steady presence in their lives. He'd visit them at the diner after Lillian's shift, sometimes bringing books for Eli or coffee for her. He never overstepped, never rushed anything. He simply showed up, consistently, sincerely. One evening, as the three of them sat on a park bench watching the sunset, Eli turned to him and asked, "Ethan, why don't you have a family?" The question made Lillian's cheeks burn with embarrassment, but Ethan just smiled sadly. "I did once," he said softly, "but I lost them in an accident a few years ago." The silence that followed was heavy. Lillian's heart ached for him. That night when she got home, she couldn't stop thinking about him, the man who carried his own pain but still had room to care for others. Weeks turned into months, and what started as coffee dates turned into shared dinners, small family outings, and late-night talks. Ethan became a part of their rhythm. Eli adored him, and slowly, Lillian began to lower her walls. She hadn't realized how much she missed laughter in her home until Ethan's presence filled it. But one morning, Lillian learned a truth that left her breathless. She was at the diner when she overheard two businessmen talking about Ethan Brooks, the CEO of Brooks Enterprises. Her hands froze mid-air holding a coffee pot. Could it be the same Ethan? The man who came to the diner in simple clothes, who never talked about work, who spent weekends playing with her son at the park? That evening she confronted him gently. Ethan didn't deny it. "I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me for who I am, not what I have," he said. "And I did see you, Lillian. You're the strongest person I've ever met." Lillian felt tears fill her eyes. All her life, people had looked at her with pity or judgment, but never admiration. She didn't know what to say. From that day, their bond grew stronger. Ethan offered to help her start a small bakery, something she had always dreamed of. "You don't have to keep serving other people's coffee when you could serve your own," he told her. With his guidance, but her effort, it became real. The little bakery, Eli's Place, opened that spring with a big chalkboard sign out front and warm lights glowing through the windows. Business started slow, but every time Lillian doubted herself, Ethan reminded her, "You've already survived worse. This is just the beginning." Soon, word spread. Locals loved her homemade pies, and Eli proudly told every customer that his mom was the best baker ever. But success wasn't the best part. The best part was peace, the laughter that filled their home again, the way Ethan read bedtime stories to Eli as if he'd always been there, the way Lillian finally allowed herself to dream again, not of riches, but of love that didn't hurt. Months later, on a quiet evening, Ethan took her to the same cafe where they had met. The same rain drummed softly against the windows. But this time, she wasn't nervous. She was glowing, wearing a white dress and the biggest smile. Ethan looked at her, his eyes full of quiet emotion, and said, "That night, when you apologized for bringing Eli, I smiled because I saw the most beautiful thing in the world, a mother's love. You didn't ruin that date. You made it real." He reached into his pocket, took out a small ring, and said, "Lillian Carter, would you let me be part of your little family forever?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, her hands trembling as she whispered yes. Eli, who had been sitting nearby with his little toy car, jumped up and shouted, "Does this mean Ethan's my dad now?" Everyone in the cafe laughed and clapped, and just like that, the woman who had once walked through storms found her sunshine. Not because she waited for rescue, but because she kept walking, because she kept believing that even broken roads could lead to beautiful places. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with someone who believes in love that heals and kindness that never judges. Comment below what your favorite part of this story was, or share a time when kindness changed your life. Your stories inspire others more than you know. As the rain poured outside that night, Ethan, Lillian, and little Eli sat together under the soft cafe lights. The same lights that once reflected loneliness now glowed with something much brighter, hope. And maybe, just maybe, it was proof that sometimes life doesn't give us what we expect. It gives us exactly what we need.